Alright, 6:35, I'll call the meeting to order. First up, modifications, changes.
Just one small one under number 3, to approve the joint meeting dates. The December 13th is attached at the end. That's not a joint date, that's the regular date. Who's gonna take that off? There you go. That's all I got.
We have to prove that though, right?
I didn't see anything else.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, we have to approve it under the normal minutes.
Move
but it's
as
not
amended?
joint. Yeah.
Okay, alright, public comment. Anybody give a public? Well, that was your items, right? Alright, review and approval for minutes of December 13th and the joint meeting dates of 7/20, 10/26, and 11/2. Sandy, how they looking?
Okay.
Motion to accept them?
Move.
Sheila with the first, Heather with the second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Alright, up next, Historical Society review.
Oh, jeez.
I told you to be ready, we'd get right to you.
Even though it says historically.
I'm quite historical. No, I apologize for my voice, and I think you'll find that it's harsh, but I just developed this voice this morning. So.
You sound like Shirley, it's all.
Okay. I'm going to read most of what I'm going to say. So I'd just like to say that David Jarvis, treasurer of the Enosburg Historical Society, are here tonight on behalf of the Enosburg Historical Society, whose members are passionate about preserving the many local antique artifacts. They also have had many donations from people which have been used to make repairs, help with heating and electrical costs, etc. Having been given a short speaking time, I will bring you up to date on the repairs that are taking place at the depot. I don't think there's any reason for me to go back over what has been said over the last 3 years when people come here and ask for talk about the roof, so I'm moving forward. Gary Clow has started making the electrical repairs and installation to comply with the fire marshal's inspection. Abby and I met with Seth Hungerford, construction technology teacher from the Cold Hollow Career Center, at the beginning of November, who said that his students would be able to build a new ramp, install new door handles, and build the egress. Later in November, he and his students were at the depot taking the measurements for needed materials. Unfortunately, as yet, he has not given the Enosburg Historical Society a grant for the materials needed.
I have reached out every week. I've been sending an email to him and Nate DeMar, and I've gotten no response.
For cost of material?
For
Yes.
the material list and when they're gonna start, because when Shirley and I met with him in November, he was gonna be able to get all this done in January. and
Start
now
your
he's-
email with listen, Seth.
I was pretty blunt in the one I sent this week, and my next is going to be a phone call, and then I'm pretty much just gonna show up over there. So, we'll get it done eventually.
Squeaky wheel.
Okay, we are going on to the roof, which, as I said, has probably been in the works for 3 years. President Cindy Weed applied for a $20,000 grant from the Historical Preservation Society, which was granted to the Enosburg Historical Society on December 15th. There are 3 forms that have to be returned to the grant coordinator by February 3rd. That's a very important date. The most important one being the acceptance or denial of the grant. 2 quotes only for a steel seamed roof were sent in with the grant, one for $58,000 and the other for $38,000. And I'm stressing that because it was for the roof only, and you'll see why when I go down. Over the holidays, a licensed roofer inspected the roof. His recommendation was to replace with shingles, and he explained why he would go with shingles. He's done historic buildings and so on. And David can express that if you would like to know the questions, have questions. The requirement in the grant is traditional materials should be repaired or replaced in kind with materials that match the original and are joined in the same way. So I find that conflicting, and I'll also speak to that a little later. The estimates not yet bids are replacement of the roof only, not including repairs, to the substructure of the roof. Substructure work must be done first to repair or replace rotted rafters, eaves, and soffits, and to repoint the chimney. I have given the grant application and the grant to Abby, and a meeting with Abby and the village manager has been arranged for January 17th to go over the many requirements of the grant, because I find it's it's a big document. I think they think that we're doing $1 million project. This afternoon I had a conversation with Caitlin Corcoran's tax credits and grants coordinator to clarify a couple of specifics. In the grant it says that you solicit bids, and I wanted to know if that could be that you solicit bids by asking people to submit the ones they've already done, or we could go out to contractors and ask them if they want to submit bids, or if it must be done by newspapers. Because solicit to me was, I wasn't sure. She said it can be done either way. It does not have to be done by doing it in the newspaper.
Is there a minimum number of bids that you have to get?
3. So that was number 1. And we do have 2 for the roof, as I said. We would definitely have to go back to those people and ask them if they still wanted to do that. The second, I asked her, what is required, shingles or steel seam? Because I think it's important that we know that before we would even start. And her answer to me was that she is willing to work with us and the committee in accepting either. She said it was a big discussion that went on at the committee meeting. I guess they probably persuaded that the steel seam was lighter. That's what she told me. And so she then discussed the work that must be done on the substructure before starting the roof, and she was very explicit about that. She said it has to be done, and it says, she said the preservation committee will need to have a clear description how the contractor is repairing the substructure before they okay the granting of the grant, with pictures, because they discussed it at length about the substructure, and it's costly. We are here this evening to ask the village to assist with the cost of repairs over $40,000. We have a grant of $20,000, we have our own money of $21,000, but anything, but that is basically the roof if you look at the contracts right now. The Enosburg Historical Society finds themselves in a difficult position. If the membership turns down the grant and proposes that the present roof be repaired, then that means the leasee is saying no to installing a new roof on the village building. The Enosburg Historical funds are limited when they are serving to foot the bills for all the other repairs because the materials are going to cost. I am hoping that the Enosburg Historical Society and the village can work collaborative to come up with a solution to this problem by January 24th, the date of the next village trustees meeting. And I would go into a lot more detail when I was working with Abby and the village manager.
So, just to clarify, you did get the grant?
Yes.
It's just
Yes.
conditional that the substructure?
Well, it
be
is
repaired?
conditional because even the February 3rd is in a way, because I asked for an extension. I said, you know, this is a very tight timeline for me. And she said, even if you say yes, you accept it, and down the road, you say, sorry, we do not have the money to do this, that can stop.
Okay.
It's not, she said it's unusual, but it has been done.
Is there a possibility to extend the deadline? Because right now the construction has to be done by December 31st.
24, or is it 23? I don't have the grant with me.
I do.
I'm sorry.
No, I can't remember.
It's basically just
24.
24,
Okay, 24.
December 31st, 24,
yes.
so to get you go.
But there are other things, you do have to get the quotes by May
So
26,
there's
23.
deadlines for each kind of
Yeah.
step in the process, the way that they have it. It's very, like Shirley said, it's very kind of extensive and detailed.
So I did take a peek at the roof substructure. I think what they're alluding to mostly is the eaves, how they're all just kind of sagging down.
The eaves and the framing on the
The overhangs.
overhangs, when you look at those, especially on the east side of the building, they're rotten.
Mhm.
And a portion of those would have to be replaced, or the whole rafter would have to be replaced.
And that roof is just like old rough cut wide board, correct? With
That's
shingle
correct, they
over it?
call it barn board,
Yeah,
basically. There's nothing above the barn board. You sometimes see plywood if you've had a layer of shingles added at some point, or taken off and then another layer added. But there, right now, I guess there's 2 layers of shingles up there and nothing under them.
right, they're right on the barn board.
There's nothing that I saw, or the roofer that was with us over Christmas looked up in the attic. There doesn't appear to be any rot in the attic area.
So essentially, you have the money to cover the roof, but not the repairs under the roof.
Yes.
Do those eaves need to be repaired the same way, or can we put posts up?
No, they would have to be repaired the same
With
way.
it being historical, it's very, very precise. It has to go back as close to what the original.
Which is why I'm really surprised they're allowing standing seam.
That's their compromise basically to shingle,
Right.
because it kind of surprises me that they're allowing shingle, because this same grant application has been denied in the past because they didn't want to invest in shingles. So that's why they actually preferred standing seam, because it would last longer. So it's very curious that they're kind of backpedaling on that now. I mean, it's, I guess, good because it gives more options, but
Do we have a quote for shingles?
Yeah, we have one at 58 and we have one at 38.
those are both for standing
Both
seam.
were standing seam.
Oh, both with standing seam, we don't have a
Yes.
quote,
Yeah.
no, sorry. And they did say, and it may be because if you read that very carefully, they're not replacing the original. The original, because of the nails that the contractor could see underneath, was wooden shingles.
Yeah, that's what
So
they,
the first layer's wood?
yeah.
It's not now,
It's
but it
not.
was.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yep.
they feel it was shingles because when you look at the barn board from the attic up, it's hundreds, not thousands of nails that have been just pounded down, so they just tore the roof off and pounded the nails in rather than taking them all out.
That was probably before it was
Yeah.
designated a historical.
One of the reasons, if I may, that the contractor that was there with us over Christmas didn't like the stand-in seam roof, and this is his forte, was that when you envision the building on the south side with all the parking that's there, that snow melt coming off is gonna go right on the cars.
Mhm.
Even, he said, yeah, you can put up, there's certain things you can put up on the
Guards, yeah.
guards or something, but
A lot of
you
weight
still
on the
can
building.
get,
Yeah, still gonna go.
yeah,
So, what I'm thinking is I'm definitely not opposed to the idea of the village helping out financially. The timing is right, but the issue is, how much is it gonna be? Because we don't have any money budgeted, and we kinda need an amount to budget ballpark.
Well, from what she said today, but I don't know, because we have no indication from, I think the 2 quotes, as I understood it, that Cindy got, was that the roofing contractors said they didn't want to do it.
Can you tell us who the roofing contractors were?
You know, it was.
I'm just, I mean, I'm not just being nosy, I'm just,
They're also 25% off, 30% off.
Alright.
I think Jim Billiter was one of them.
Right, and,
One was,
and,
most expensive roofer on earth.
and there was a Barnard from Montgomery, but I didn't
yeah,
even know the
Robert
name.
Bernard,
Robert Barnard, yeah.
and there's one other person that will bid on it. He's a New Hampshire and Vermont licensed contractor.
The problem, a lot of these guys are roofers, but they're not necessarily contractors to do the work. They just
Right.
come in, strip, lay a new roof on.
There's one other one too, whose name I can't remember.
What about
Wife's name is
Peters?
Tracy.
Peters in Berkshire.
Tracy.
All Peters?
Bald head, black.
I mean, there's enough roofers
Oh.
around.
No,
Yeah, Pat Tracy.
No, it's not Tracy.
Oh, he does.
His wife's name is Tracy.
Oh, I'm thinking Pat Tracy does standing seam.
So another question too is,
40 years.
do you need to get 3 quotes for standing seam and 3 quotes for shingles?
She didn't say that.
Or just 3 roofing quotes?
with their suggestions.
Yeah, she said she would definitely work with me in the committee.
Yeah.
With, if I said asphalt shingles.
And it has to be standing seam and not tin.
He's still.
It
Yeah,
would
they
be
will not
sta-
do tin.
Yeah,
They
you're
must
right
be
on
something.
Yeah,
tin.
we asked that question.
He's.
No.
I was on oxygen for a while.
I think it'd be worth at least getting a couple quotes for shingles, because I
Well-
bet it'd be substantially lower than standing seam. No?
No, not according to,
No, it's a-
Because they have to put plywood over the barn boards.
yeah, if you do go with asphalt shingle roof, you have to have an underlayment that
Is solid.
allows for the nails that go through the shingles to contact some type of subsurface. With the barn boards up there, because they're not flush, they're not tongue and groove, you could have a chance of having nails that are going into nothing,
Right,
Yeah.
right.
and that voids the warranty.
Say shingle warranties for the shingles are very specific, the nails have to be in certain spots, certain widths apart in order for the warranty to stay valid, so that doesn't mean
Correct.
that it needs to be resheathed. I mean,
And the other type of, the newer type of, and I don't even know what it's
standing
called,
seam,
steel roof that is not standing seam
corrugated steel.
is not a possibility.
No, the historical preservation will not allow,
Okay.
Corrugated steel.
Just a question.
And one roof lasts longer than the other too.
Steel.
is the other
Standing
thing.
seam lasts,
Standing seam.
it sticks in one hand, half does in the other, honestly.
He did say also, that contractor, that when you put a standing seam, that you will not fix that underlay well enough so that, but you're gonna get a little hump down
Right.
at the bottom where that, where the eaves are and so on and so forth. Whereas if you use, asphalt, because you're putting the underlay down, you won't get that. You will get a roof that will come.
Right.
And he did mention that the chimney really needs to be repointed before any roofing work can be done, because you need the chimney to form the roof around it for,
Yeah. So then they
it
can
builds up,
flash.
yes.
I'm surprised that chimney didn't go in the storm. I'm very surprised there was no damage to that
Is
chimney.
it cinder block?
No, it's
No,
brick,
it's a
but it's
brick.
pretty bad, it's already leaning kinda like this, they lost
All
some
right,
shingles.
boys.
Yeah, this is one of those things where I think you don't really know what you have until you have it all apart.
Right,
Right.
and that's why I came tonight to tell you where we are, and, having heard news this afternoon, we will try to get 3 quotes, so that if we come back on the 27th, I don't wanna keep coming back here.
We're not a bad group.
No, I know that, but I like to finish something.
Is there any possibility of getting quotes for the chimney and all the substructure work?
Yeah,
I don't know if the man is still, I know that when we had our we had part of the chimney go on our house and, but that was a number of years ago. And we had a Tracy from Richford, and that was a specialty, but I don't know if he's still in business or not.
Well, Richard Rye has passed away, but his sons have taken over his business, and that is specifically a brick business, and they're out of Richford.
Okay, so we could get a quote there.
It's Rye and Son.
I know a couple other masonry that do that as well. I can send you their name and phone numbers for.
Okay,
And there's Greg Hall.
Yep,
Greg Hall,
his grandpa built my chimney.
yeah. He did our thing. He did the steps at the church.
is he a local person or?
Montgomery.
Montgomery?
Or Richford.
Oh,
Richford.
Sound either.
Well, yeah, we can give them,
Yeah, I
Okay,
can
go
talk
on.
with Abby tomorrow.
Yeah, we can
So-
make sure.
So one of the conditions of that grant was that you reach out and find quotes, right?
Yes,
Would it be worth it? You got a Facebook page or anything? Would it be worth it just putting out like a statement saying that you're looking for roof quotes, substructure quotes, and chimney quotes? Just to see who comes forward?
I could put that on Front Porch Forum, I suppose.
Do you have the Facebook page?
Oh yeah, I read it every day.
So you could put that on there
Yeah.
too.
Advertise a little bit and see what we can do.
See if you can catch somebody's interest.
I would post, if you do a flyer, post at Six and Stuff, talk to Pierre, because they may be able to recommend or reach out to contractors and even Greens.
You might get some volunteer stuff that you hadn't anticipated.
Because it's kind of like three individual specialty lines of
yeah.
Yes.
So,
contracting.
to be,
Most of the roofers will not do the woodwork
Right,
unless they have somebody employed that can do that.
right.
if the village is gonna financially participate in this, you have until the next meeting to come up with a dollar figure, because we have to approve budgets at our next meeting. It is not optional to go into February.
So, one of the things I was wondering is if we need all of the funds. Well, yeah, I guess.
We have until 2024.
Yeah, so could we appropriate some funds this year and appropriate some funds next year? So that it's not, we don't know what the final dollar amount's going to
No.
be.
No.
So we could take a guess, maybe appropriate some funds for this year with an intention to do it again next year.
Like 10 and 10, or
Yeah,
preliminary 10.
This kind of comes back to the discussion with the town too, because they were supposed to be coming on the deed so that it could go into the general fund, then all village and town, because right now, if we do it this way, only village residents are paying for this.
But,
So, I'm just, you know.
I know.
The financial side of things, I know.
And that
I'm
was
always
the
bad
original-
guy, but,
that was the original plan, that
and
was
it's
the
supposed
original
to be in the
intent.
works still,
but-
but.
Yeah,
yeah.
that would push our timeline back.
Yeah, I don't think
Have-
that
Months,
would
if
be
So
not
the
years.
select board is meeting every week right now. Do you have any intent of going to the select board and asking for funds as well?
I was gonna ask for some on the village budget, but I hadn't anticipated going to the board because as I understood it, they were not going to go on the deed.
No, the last discussion is that we are, and it's in the works. It's kind of one of those, the ball's in their court, we're waiting for their attorney just to review everything. But
So it is again, they are
I
considering
asked
that
at one of our joint meetings, and they were all for it after Jesse, I think it might have been the meeting you were not at possibly, but asked and they were all for it because everything was moving in a positive direction. Jesse and I had been working together, and it was supposed to go on their agenda back in November, and it
Right.
never got put on, and I've asked multiple times. They've had other issues why it hadn't gone on, but that they were still interested in coming on, and then it could go in the general fund.
Okay, so that would be good news too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it would.
You guys
Yeah.
have some plans to do some fundraising and stuff too, to?
It's very hard to do fundraising. I can,
It was around last year, right? That's where the 21,000 that we have in the budget
right,
for our portion.
So you have the 21,000 that you fundraised, and then there's another 17,000 that was given that you guys have for maintenance specific, correct?
Yeah.
And then another 20 from the grant.
And another 20 from the grant.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we've got 21,000 that people donated, because they did put a letter out when this started back 3 years ago. And I think the person who really started it was Glenn Wright, and he made a donation of $5,000. Well, that specifically is for the roof. And there were some very generous donations. And I don't mind saying his name because it was in the paper.
More than likely, he'd do it again.
That's what I was just gonna say, if it's been 3
Yeah.
years, it might be time to
Yeah.
Might be time to say, hey Glenn, help us again.
put out another call. Or do you guys have like a 501c3 or anything?
It is.
It is,
So it's all tax deductible.
right.
Okay. Oh, should we do that? Yeah.
So we're really not looking, we're not looking that bad then. Because we got 20, 21, 40, 41, 17, you got 58,000.
But the
But
seven,
that 17,
It's specifically designated, we cannot use that for the roof. It was,
Wait,
That's
Yeah.
for, it's
That's
for
for
maintenance.
for me,
But
So all the
for
other
the
things,
other work,
all like the egress and the railings and all that
right,
stuff,
yeah.
that can be used out of the 17, okay,
Mhm.
okay. And,
and another thing to keep in mind is that the grant will not be paid until project is completed and signed off on.
so you need all the money up
And
front.
then you've got like 30 days or more before they
Yeah.
would cut a check.
So we need that cash up front.
Right,
Well, I'll tell you what, you wanna budget 10, and then we have 2 years before project completion, and by then maybe we'll figure something out with the town. Move forward from there, just a real rough estimate,
It's a place to start.
we'll just earmark 10. And we'll go from there.
And we'll go, if I may,
Mhm.
and we'll go out, we'll get
Quotes.
quotes for both asphalt and stand and seam, and ask the roofing contractors if, as part of their job, they would take on the task of doing the substructure repair.
Yeah,
At
you
the
might
same
have
time-
somebody that can do both.
Or they may know, like,
Or-
oh,
Or
this
know
is-
they can
somebody
hire-
else that could work for
Or,
them.
or they know somebody that works with them that will help, will do that part. And
How many copies of the new book do you have?
On hand, 20.
I mean, how many do you have? Period. How many did you have done?
Oh,
The new one?
they did 100 to start off with, and then they did a reprinting of Janice's book, but I
Yeah.
think we've got only 20 more left to sell.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, push the hell out of that.
Alright, so that's what we'll do. We'll have you guys get a quote for the chimney, the substructure, and then some more roofing quotes.
Mhm.
We'll set aside some money in the budget for
Okay.
next year. And then, also talk to the town
Okay.
and see where they're at.
so,
And knowing that we have another year beyond that as well.
so we're gonna get that, and I'll talk to you about it after.
Sound like a plan?
sounds like,
Yep.
Perfect.
thank you very much.
Thank you guys for all your work.
Yes,
We'll-
you've done a great
we'll
job,
get through
actually.
it eventually.
You've done a great job. Thank you.
It was kind of scary though, getting a phone call from Lubin's.
Well, you know,
That Saturday morning, she didn't know who to call, the lady in the office, at the building office. She was watching the shingles come off.
Oh, no.
She didn't know who to call, so she texted me. But
this could have been a lot worse.
it could have been a lot worse.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Yep.
Thank you.
Stay
Oh,
on.
I'm out of here by 7 o'clock. There you go.
Record.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Okay, up next, Pleasant Valley Digester letter.
We got a bunch of letters here. That one simply is it's kind of formality. So Vermont Gas is asking you folks to sign off on it, just saying that you're extending out to Marks with natural gas, which would have Jane does, because they're already past the village anyway. But that is,
Wait for a copy here.
No,
no, that's it.
sign it.
Right.
Just a
but
letter.
It's like,
It's basically stating it's not gonna have any impact on
Yeah,
municipal or educational services.
Okay.
it's already by all of our main infrastructure.
Right.
We probably should have a motion to,
Mhm.
yeah, probably a motion to write this letter, I guess, for letter of approval. Either with the first,
Second.
Sandy with the second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Alright, unanimous.
I can only see good coming out of extending
Right,
services
oh,
to
no.
people.
Yeah, local natural gas,
Right.
pretty neat. Okay, another letter we have to sign is to change John for, what is CW?
The Clearwater State Revolving Fund, this just puts me like, takes John off.
Wait, so you're going to number 6 already?
Yes.
Okay.
It's only one.
I didn't. That might just be me in the back. I think it's just the chair.
Who is this? Enosburg Village Trustees by signature of duly authorized representative. Oh. Is this the clean letter?
That's the only letter they sent.
Okay. Must be I signed that too? Okay, this one says the Enosburg Falls Village Trustees received a notice from Bellevue RNG LLC dated December 12, 2022 about the conversion of an existing digester on Pleasant Valley Farm to produce renewable natural gas. This project includes a pipeline. The village trustees support the project and waive the right to a 45-day pre-filing notice under 30 VSA 248. Where does it go through village land?
It's already passed it all, that's why it's kind of moved.
Right.
It's already all the way through the village.
It's already through the village, it ends out by the industrial park.
And that doesn't make any sense.
No. They had the town do it too, even though
Okay.
they asked the town. It's just something that DPS is making them do.
1, 10, 23.
This one I believe all of you have to sign.
Okay, so that's that. Up next is the water infrastructure financing. So we're just updating you to be our point of contact and
Yeah, we're doing
Authorized
that.
signer.
yeah, authorized signer. Okay. Motion to authorize John to be our representative signer.
I move we authorize Joan.
I'll second.
Okay, Sandy with the first, Heather with the second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. All right, we can sign that one.
How do you, should we use it under other
Other
business or?
business.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. There's any way you can, next time you make a packet and put those letters, that would be
Okay, I don't, well, I think what happened was they were in the 13th
Oh.
packet. I don't think so.
Probably, yeah, the last packet, yeah,
Yes.
probably. All right, up next, AMI financing.
They already.
So we had chatted a couple of meetings ago about the AMI project. Our total cost is just under $800,000. The grant should be covering half of it. We are on the hook for about $401,000. It's gonna be over the next probably 2 years, what do you say? Couple years?
Yeah.
2 to 3 years.
2 to 3 years, probably.
But we'll have him pay that. We had a couple options where we could do the financing with VEPSA. VEPSA reached out to a couple different banks, got kind of an estimate. Their interest rate for their loan, where we could have just financed it through them, is 5.25%. I didn't like that number. So I reached out to People's Trust. and they would be willing to do the financing, and it would be like a 3-year line of credit essentially, and then at the end of the 3 years, it would go to term, to a fixed rate. So the 3-year rate right now would be 2.35%.
That's manageable.
So
It's a little.
we would have to just pay interest payments only until we refinance it for a 10-year note at the end of the 3 years. So I don't know obviously what that interest rate would be 3 years down the road, but
Hopefully better than it is now.
5.25 to 2.35, I think it's kind of a
To
no.
swallow.
On
No.
$400,000.
It's kind of a no-brainer. I mean, just annually, our interest, our loan payment through VEPSA would be 62,000, and of that, almost 23 is interest.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
to me, it's a no-brainer, but obviously, you guys get that final.
Well,
say.
we're gonna have to figure it out in 3 years though, once it comes to term.
Right, once it comes to term, so far I've gotta say People's Trust has been wanting to work with us and coming in a percent and a half lower, even with the bond bank, lower than the bond bank, so.
So how come they won't finance the total project? Is it because they need to have it set up in order to finance it? What?
We're still waiting on the grant.
So, the whole project itself is like $800,000. VEPSA pushed legislature to have this part of the spending, so half of our project is paid for by state funding.
Right,
We're only on the hook for the other half.
but how come we need to go a 3-year
Because-
line of credit and then come to term in 3 years?
Because
and
the
reapply?
project's gonna happen over 3 years, all the expenses are not gonna hit in 1 year. So we may draw $20,000 off the line of credit this year, next year it'll be 200,000. It's just the timing, the biggest expense up front is gonna be getting the meters ordered.
And instead of going for a loan and then going for another loan, going for another loan, just.
They're
kind of
willing to do a kind of a revolving line of credit to complete the project, then at the end of it,
Finance that project.
roll it into a
Makes more
fixed
sense.
long term.
They really do push local.
And yeah, their rates have been, for everything right now, they are at least a point and a half interest rate behind everybody, so. And Deidre's been amazing to work with, our contact person, so. I just kinda need you guys to greenlight me which way to go, because we'd like to hopefully get meters ordered here soon and get things rolling, and we'll have some paperwork to do with People's Trust.
Well, don't go with Pepsi.
So if you can, I will need a motion for Deidre, just for if you guys decide to go People's Trust, that we move forward with that, so it's in the minutes.
Once the line of credit expires, will we have to get a bond?
We can finance, they're willing to finance it through People's Trust.
No, I know, but would we need to get a bond vote?
I don't believe so, it will depend at the time. Right now, there's a whole formula with the light department that we have to figure out. It's basically like a debt to income kind of scenario, and we are under the threshold, so we do not have to go to a vote.
Okay. Well, I will hear a motion to use People's Trust for our AMI financing.
I will so move.
I'll second.
All right, Sandy and Heather, all those in favor say aye,
Aye.
and those opposed nay.
Thank you.
Kinda silly not to go with the best deal.
Yeah, the People's has been really good to work with, and
Okay. All right, annual report and annual meeting discussion.
you know what I want me to.
So, split it. A couple of topics come up. One, who we would dedicate it to this year. We've thought about dedicating just back to the employees. Is one option, but if you had other suggestions, we'd listen to those. And then, are we gonna go back to the pre-COVID format of just going live, live physical, or any kind of online?
Well, I think the dedication to the employees is a really good idea considering what they just went through.
We've kind of whacked and employee recognition over the years, so.
I think that it's time that somebody really stepped up and said, damn it, we're proud of you.
So you wanna write the dedication?
No, I'm not very good at that sort of thing.
As far as format goes, I don't really see any reason why it needs to be online.
I would,
Is this like back at the school again, where
school or EMS?
Yeah, I don't know.
Where did
the
you used to
school-
do them?
We used to do them at the school, but I
we
don't
used to
think-
do it in the auditorium.
Yeah, I don't think they like that anymore.
I think EMS would be enough room.
The school would probably allow that, but I mean, the EMS, like, we're not gonna fill the auditorium.
No, I mean, the biggest crowd that we ever had, I think, was like 6 people.
So it might be more comfortable.
I went once when they were 11.
Wow.
Come on now.
So
We
maybe-
could even
We
have
can do
it
that
here. We could have it here.
I was
So I
just gonna say
wondered,
that, we could have you right here.
I kind of wondered if we could do sort of like a potluck or something with it though. Cause it's like in the evenings, right, like dinner time-ish. The town meeting or with the town, like there is childcare available, or at least there had been in years past, if you had volunteers to help with some childcare. But if we like spiced it up a little bit, maybe more people would come and join in the conversation.
I'm pretty
Just
sure
like go to a
that-
meeting and get it to hell over with.
Yeah, there's, I mean, not to be wet blanket or anything, but there's like a lot of stuff you gotta do specific to the annual meetings. Like they have their own ordinances and stuff.
Right. No, I mean, I know it's not like a casual meet and greet, but like, and again, this was years ago, but like, I have seen like potlucks after, and so people can socialize, try to just a draw to get people out and engage in government stuff and be a part of the village.
So there you go. Up to you
It's
guys.
called food bribery.
I am all.
I don't think the school let us have it there last year.
The protocols were a bunch stricter still last
Yeah.
year. It depending on we went through very different stages of COVID mitigations last year. So I think we were still like too heightened the mitigations last year, so the school might be an opportunity this year, if that's what we wanted to do.
I mean, it all depends on how we do it, but if we go the traditional route and just have it short and sweet, because there's no major projects this year, so we don't need an informational meeting, correct?
I don't, the only one I would question would be Elm Street, but I don't think that's gonna really hit till next year. I think it's all the,
And that's a water fund thing, not a
water and
general,
wastewater.
right, not a general fund.
Right, no general fund projects that are gonna hit.
We gotta look into that, because I don't know if we'll have to do an informational meeting if we're doing like infrastructure projects.
It's all grant funded.
Right. And we're not asking taxpayers for any money.
Correct.
So maybe call Jess on that and see what we have to do in regards to that. But if we go the traditional route, I don't see any reason why we can't have it here.
Right.
There's never really
1, 2,
too much
3,
for
4,
turnout.
5, 6, 7, 8. You can
We
get a
have-
dozen people in here
We
without
have more.
any difficulty.
We've had more people.
For Vital Village meetings, we've had this place like 2 rows deep packed, so I mean, I can't imagine we'll ever get that many. It'd be nice,
We'll have
but
coffee and cookies.
Yeah, there you go.
I can make cookies.
I say I can make cookies.
We'll
I
make.
can make coffee.
I can buy cookies.
Yeah, you should
No,
go to work and
no
make
pot
some
coffee, no. You don't buy cookies.
There's no like
Chemicals.
capacity
It's
restrictions.
big sale.
Here?
No, like I mean,
No.
there's no like requirement that
Not
you
in
need to
my
have.
knowledge.
Yeah, it's normally doesn't have it.
Just egg whites.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I'll make some meringue kisses.
So live in here,
I-
at this point.
And it's always what, the Monday night before town meeting, right?
No, so our informational meetings typically were the Monday before
Yeah.
the Tuesday, but our meetings are always the first Tuesday in
So do
March.
you have
The
celiac?
first Tuesday.
First Tuesday night in March. Because town meetings are the first Tuesday.
Tuesday, yeah.
Or sorry, it'd be second Tuesday.
That's what I thought.
That would be,
Right?
that would be
Oh,
trustee
ours,
meeting
Yeah,
night.
ours is the second
Yeah.
Tuesday.
I thought it
sorry.
was a different night last year than our trustee meeting.
Our informational meeting was.
And we didn't have our actual trustees meeting because it would not have counted depending on the vote. I remember that.
Right. There was a bunch of wonky stuff, because we were trying to go for a hybrid setup, so it was either electric or nothing, essentially.
Alright, cause last year we had the financing for the plow truck,
Yep.
that's why.
So, yeah, second Tuesday, is usually 6:30. Live here.
So that'd
Sounds
be
good to me.
14th of March.
Pat can still be our moderator?
He is the moderator, so
Right, okay, yeah.
we'll just have to
We did-
reach out
we did
to
vote.
Pat Hayes. And
It's gonna be
then
fun having an
Kelly.
in-person meeting in years.
It'd be way better than sitting up at the,
So
on
you
stage.
could-
Oh, God,
at the gym.
that's, I was thinking about that yesterday, it's like, oh dear God, if we have to have that at the high school again. And I
Nothing's-
remember looking at them all sitting up there like sitting ducks.
Nothing screams approachable like being 5 feet above everyone else.
There you go. Maybe we're more intimidated this way, they won't badger us.
Yeah, there you go.
Dan Cunningham stays home, we'll be all
So
set.
3/14 at 6:30.
Does
any
council have a
changes
board
you
room we
guys
could
wanna
use?
see in the format and anything? You can go through this as my copy, I have extra copies.
When do they have to be to the printer?
February 3rd, so I need everything to me by January 30th, because then I have to put it together. So if you don't have a copy and you want to go through one, I have plenty in my office. If you have any, obviously the financial stuff in the back we can't change, but any changes or
Additional info
thoughts or
or-
anything additional that you would like to see in the annual report needs to get to me by the 30th.
I'll have to pick one up because I buried mine when I redid the.
Yeah, I've got a bunch in
Yeah,
my
mine's
office.
filed in upstairs.
I've got a box of them in my office still, so.
Which is not a good sign. That
Do you
means
have
nobody
any,
wanted them.
like, did you have anything in mind? Was there like,
My biggest thing, and that's more of a getting after our department heads, is, like their little write-ups, I feel are pretty blah. So I told them, don't be afraid to change it and spice it up a little bit. I'm hoping to maybe incorporate some more pictures. We've been a little bit better about pictures of projects. I know we usually do, we kind of do a page, but like, you know, we did Kate's crosswalk, we've got the flashing crosswalk. you know,
Got the
we've
Christmas
got-
bridge.
We've got the Christmas bridge, we've got a lot of stuff, maybe a page for like the storm stuff too. We've got a lot
Yeah.
of good pictures, so
And that great picture that you posted on Facebook again today, the one I took of everybody out front, that's a great picture. It truly is, because it's got everybody that does everything around here right out there.
I love Kevin staring off in that one. But that was kind of my thought, was to see if maybe just some more pictures, and then hopefully I can get, well, Gary to spice up his write-ups a little. Financial reports are financial reports, I mean, those are about as exciting as we're gonna get. But, yeah, but if there's any suggestions, how you wanna see stuff, let me know. And then I mean, once you decide final decision if you're gonna do the employees, who's on the hook for writing it, usually you.
I'm fine with that.
Is that something that we need to vote on tonight to get it over
I
with?
don't know that we need to vote on it, it's just,
Let's
we
do
need
it.
to, we need to know.
Nobody said no?
There's no nays.
Okay, that was done.
should we have a page, dedicated just to ARPA, or should it just stay within the financials?
Stay within the financials, would be my opinion.
We
I think in the manager's report, previously, or last year's, it was just kind of highlighted out separately, but I don't think we need a full page.
How much money is left?
Just what we earmarked for those Maple Park and Church Street, the rest went to the electric department like we voted on back in June or July.
I thought there was like 130 left.
That was for the electric department is what we voted on back in like July, that we were gonna do those specific projects. I think it was a July meeting, and then the rest of it was to offset the low rate increase to get them by And with the storm, we had some big invoices, so we made the final transfer.
Okay.
So we have enough left for Maple Park and the Church Street, which will be coming up.
Yeah, next year.
Maple Park won't be until they do the sewer, so that may not happen until 2024. But Church Street will be putting a bid package together for the sidewalk, because that won't impact what they're doing for the sewer repair.
Because we were able to secure funds, we made an amendment, because the funds were supposed to be earmarked for kind of more of the overflow project, but they allowed us to use the funds to upgrade the sewer
For Church and
off
Maple.
the church.
And Maple Park too,
And then
right?
they go back and pay it. Yeah, Maple and Church,
I can't remember.
so.
So yeah, we lucked out with that, so those two projects are gonna be financed through the CSO money that we have, because it all ties into the CSO system for the sewer. So rather than putting another tank out here that we don't really need, Wayne, Elliot, and Brian did some legwork, and they were willing to divert some of the funds for these projects, so that saved all of our ratepayers significantly there.
Did you ever check into having the wastewater department absorb some of those payment costs, percentage of it?
So they're factored into these projects anyways, so when they do the Church Street, they're gonna, it's not like a full paving job, but they're gonna patch and repair it. But it was not like a full paving job.
Right, but that
It's
cost
like
will
when we
come
have
out.
a water line break
Right,
essentially.
exactly, but so that cost will come out of the wastewater department for paving?
Yes, I mean, if we decide to repave all of Church Street, that's a different story, but they will basically fix whatever they damaged.
Right.
Yep.
Okay, annual report, all set on that? Let's get into the fun stuff. Do some budget
You're
review.
saying we're gonna skip the rest of it?
I'd like to.
Okay. So, pretty much, so we're gonna add $10,000 to this year's general fund for historical.
Yeah, I think we're good.
So we're at 17.5% increase without that. My guess we're gonna be up closer to 19% with adding that 18 to 19% with adding that 10,000, probably 18-ish. So the big increase has a lot to do with the conversation that we've been having. Our debt, we've got $40,000 plus in new loan payments this year. Kind of we approve it 1 year, but it doesn't hit till the next year, so seems great at the time, but that's where we're at. Also, fuel cost, obviously, wages and everything that goes with that.
Hold on, are we in general?
Yep. So this is gonna be on hold anyway, because I need to add in the 10,000.
What's the status on the
For what?
plow truck?
It's at the place in Oakland, getting built.
Still getting fitted?
So we're waiting for it to go to Viking. We don't have a set date yet. We were hoping it was gonna go to Viking for the body.
Oh, I thought it already went.
Yeah. We got it, it's at Charlie Boy's, and it's been at Charlie Boy's for probably close to a month now.
Right, yeah.
We are waiting, Ken's basically been calling weekly to Sandy Ladd, which is our salesman, saying, did it go yet? Did it go yet? And Viking's backed up, so hopefully, we're hopeful by the end of February, we'll have it back and done. Been working with Gary and Ken. We're gonna solicit some bids on the truck if anybody wants to purchase it. We're gonna put it out to see if we can get better than the $16,000.
When are we gonna post that? I've had a couple people ask.
February 1st, we're gonna post it.
Sealed.
Sealed bids will be due, I think it was February 23rd, because you guys have a meeting the following 28th, so that gives Gary, Ken, John, and I 3 days to really go through the bids, kind of make our recommendation, have you guys approve it that last meeting in February, and then pending we have our new, there is a stipulation in the bid that we need our new truck before you can take our truck,
Right.
obviously. So pending, we're kind of hoping that timeline will fit. Gary's got some good pictures he sent me. We've got it all ready to go. It's in a list of where we're gonna post it. It's just a waiting game. So February 1st, we're gonna officially post it, give everybody about 3 weeks to,
Do we wanna wait for our new one to come before we post?
Well, we're hoping
we're
get it
kind of,
there.
yeah, we're kind of hoping the timing of it'll all come together anyway. By the time we make the decision, February 28th, we should have our truck back.
Maybe Ken should, when he makes one of his phone calls, be like, oh yeah, by the way, this truck's going up for bid on the 1st, so,
Yeah.
like,
But we have a stipulation in there that whoever, if we accept somebody's bid on the truck, that they cannot take ownership of the truck until we're done with it.
what
Or,
I'm saying is it might kick Viking in the butt to,
Right.
I don't think so at this point in time, but I don't think it's anything to them. But we can hold off, we just tentatively set that timeline, it's not set in stone. I mean, we can, if you're more comfortable with us waiting, putting that out to bid until we have the truck, we can. It's, like Ken said, if we get the truck early, the old truck will just sit, it's not gonna hurt it if it sits, so
Let's plan on doing what you just said.
wait until,
Well, yeah, go on the 1st. That is
okay.
if our truck ships out.
Yeah,
If
if
it's
it's
still
not-
sitting at Charlie Boy's lot on the
Yeah.
1st,
No,
Don't take
right,
any
because we
bids.
were gonna do this actually a couple weeks ago, but it hadn't gone to Viking, so we've been sitting on it. So that was kind of our tentative timeline that Ken and I came up with today, pending if it's still sitting at Charlie Boy's, then obviously we'll hold it. Because once it gets to Viking, it's 4 to 6 weeks, and that'll work
Right.
with this timeline.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
okay. So we can kind of hold off unless you guys have any more questions on the general fund. We're obviously gonna be financing the plow truck and then also looking at a small loan for the zero turn and the culvert thaw, which we'll get the ball rolling with next week so we can get that stuff ordered, so the zero turn will be here and the culvert thaw. But other than that, everything's status quo from the last time.
Which we don't need this year. Which we don't need this year at this point.
Right.
without my glasses.
But we'd like to get the lawnmower and I'd like to finance the two together rather than having two small
they're coming from the
ones.
same place, right?
No. The culvert thaw, I believe we're going with Napa. And then the zero turn, and we've got 2 or 3 different bids, so, for estimates on that, so, Ken will need to kind of decide in the end which company you'd like to go with. They're all within $12,000 to $14,000, so. Next up, water, there's really no changes. Excuse me, we'll probably hold off on making the motion to approve all of these until the next meeting, but I don't anticipate any changes. Just because I don't have the final depreciation number and I won't until the audit's done. So that will not affect it drastically, but for us to be able to approve a budget. I am proposing a 17% increase.
You're proposing a 17?
The numbers reflected on what you were reading factor in a 17% increase. The last increase we had was in May of 2015 and it was a 16.3 increase. This kind of ties in with the game plan of we're gonna have to take the hit in 2023 to get us to where we should be, then every year we'll be looking at an increase. So next year it may only be 1% or 2%. That way we're not going 5 to 10 years and then doing a double-digit increase. Because
That certainly
if
makes
if we do it a little bit every year, it's pennies. And even this 17% seems like a lot, but Lori and I ran the numbers, and it's only like $4 a month on an average water bill. So it's 17% sounds like a lot, but when we actually sit down and run the numbers,
Yeah,
it's
most households, it's what, $40?
yeah. So it's gonna be $4 more, so $54.
Well, I guess it'd be less than that, because you're paying bond fees on top.
Right, we
So your
figured
actual
the bond.
water-
Yeah, this would affect the bond payments as well. That's usually when we do a rate increase, it affects the bond payments as well. So we figured the bond payments, everything, it's a $4 a month increase for average, so it's not it sounds like a lot, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not, but if we do 1 to 2 to 3% a year, it's only a few pennies, so it won't even be noticeable.
Very appreciate that perspective.
Yeah, this whole waiting every 10 years thing kind of drives me crazy.
Yeah, we also need to be on a regular.
And
A rate,
It's
a
so
rate
much more
increase
fair
should
to
be
everybody.
discussed
Absolutely.
every time we discuss budgets.
yes, yes, and same kind of scenario on the wastewater, proposing a 7% increase, theirs is not as significant, but, again, the last time they had a rate increase, it was in May of 2016, and it was for 14%.
Oh, so that won't smart.
So again, it's, you know, a couple dollars a month for people on average. No major changes from the last time we went over wastewater. Again, depreciation number, I don't have the final. What I have in here is based on 2022's number, and I should have that in a couple weeks, so for the next meeting, we can do the official vote final. Any questions on those? Sorry, I know I'm going kind of fast, but I know we've gone over those.
Where did the differential in forecasted deficit come from? The 7 versus the 23,000?
In wastewater?
Yeah.
Alright, put that one. Your salaries, the budget was 232, right now, the final number is 224. So there's your savings drastically there. Electricity's down. We also budgeted high on our sludge management because we were gonna explore other vendors, but Drumac's it's gotten a lot better. There were some issues last year that we wanted to kind of explore other options, but it's gotten a lot better. And because we've had such low flows through the summer, we didn't have to pull as much off. So we came in, that was $15,000 under what we budgeted there. Revenue was down a little bit from what we had budgeted, but those are the biggest impacts. Maintenance and storm drains, we budgeted 10, we only spent 48. Pump stations, we budgeted 6, we spent 17. So those were kind of our biggest savings.
With the sludge too, I have Brian going back to the state, because if you're not aware, we truck it to New York, and he'd asked, however many years ago, I don't know, why can't we dump it in Jarvis's digester? You're not allowed to mix human waste with animal waste, which doesn't make sense, because all they cook down anyway. However, he's gonna revisit and ask that question again, and or also maybe the one that St. Pierre's putting in, because it's methane, we're not sure, a different scenario. So he's researching that to see if we can cut that cost down a little bit more by just trucking it up to one of those digesters as opposed to hauling it to New York. We're revisiting that.
On to my favorite one.
Did we get something from electric?
Yeah, it was this one, it just had, it didn't
Looks
have
different.
It didn't have a cover sheet because we haven't gone over this one yet. Don't shoot the messenger, that's all I gotta say. It is a very bleak budget, there's no denying that. We, right now, are slated to go for a rate case, but unfortunately, because of VEPSA's workload, we won't be able to file until June, which means the rate case, as long as it passes, won't go in effect until August. That hurts us. I think the difference is about $200,000 to $300,000 of revenue that we're losing out on because of that, which would help us significantly. But unfortunately, that's the situation that we're in. Overall, there's not a lot of drastic changes. We do have the weatherization project for Village 1, but we also, Enosburg has been selected with Efficiency Vermont for a tailored communities project. Some of that money can go back into municipalities, and John and I have discussed having this project fall underneath that. We're working with historical preservation to get the green light of what we can do. We wanted to go spray foam, it doesn't look like that's gonna be allowed, so we're probably gonna have to go foam board. So we're waiting, we filed with them today, we're waiting for their response back, then I can go out to bid and get a better idea. Couple other projects, or a couple other changes. John's done some awesome work getting our phone system upgraded that we have been talking about for a while. We're actually making that switch over next Wednesday.
Really?
That's been a long time
Really? How
coming.
many years have you been working on the phones?
Long before I came here.
So the 18th, next Wednesday, don't try to call us, we're not gonna answer.
Nobody home.
We'll be doing this switch over, and by doing that, we really looked into our consolidated bills and found out we had been paying for some alarms that we didn't actually have. So
Neat.
that was
Oh.
$1,600 a year.
Well, there.
So we've stopped those immediately. Couple other things like the backhoe, we moved to the highway budget. Bridge of Flower and Lights, Echo Park moved to maintenance park under the highway budget. And a couple of other things to know, we've got our 2 new apprentices start their classes, I think this week or next week? Next week. So their training cost is up because we have both their classes to pay for, but they're working out really, really well. They kept up great for the storm, so we definitely lucked out with the 2
Wonderful.
that we got. So. And as usual, VEPSA costs are about a good $225,000 increase, and that's not counting our AMI project. Obviously our purchase power, transmission, everything, McNeil is a big one. That went up significantly. And I did kind of give you those numbers. VEPSA actually put together a budget variance number to highlight some of it, and I pulled together a couple other documents, but VEPSA alone is a $255,000 increase
Yeah, that's like
right out of the
$3
gates.
million a year that we're paying the Weston.
Yeah, I know.
3 million.
Purchase power is
That's a lot
our
of
biggest one. Purchase power and the transmission, and John's working on it. Our solar project, we're talking battery, there's other conversations we're having how we can bring that down. We've got the hydros running our numbers for November, where we produced 71% of what capacity for the hydro, which is our best figure this year.
Terrific.
The guys have been really good about me nagging them constantly to turn the hydro on and
sending
turn
Don't
it up.
stop.
So we're getting them to kind of understand the other side of it, that saves us, that's, whatever that dollar amount equates to that month less that we're having to buy.
When can we start ponding?
So I have that conversation with Dave quite frequently, depending on what the weather is. Right now, we've had high enough levels, we have not needed to pond. But when
Next couple months.
depends on what the weather does, if it stays as is.
Freezes, it can't pond, that's the problem.
Oh, right.
Right, if it freezes, we can't pond, and depending on the ice flow, sometimes we have to back it down because the ice will get through, it sucks the ice in and then it jams the turbines, so it's a finicky game that they get to play with it.
Next
But
summer.
right now we can still pond. Part of this too, can everybody take a peek at the capital projects list? There's some stuff I wanna go over there. So the AMI project, obviously, I just threw an estimate of $150,000 for next year. I really don't know what we're gonna spend. We're still waiting for contracts to finalize. Like I said, we really want to push them because we want to order the meters and get the
So-
ball rolling.
This 150, are we budgeting that coming out of pocket, or are we gonna use,
The line of credit.
so this is just basically gonna be interest on the line of credit?
So, and I factored in the interest in here.
Okay.
Other things that have come up in discussion, we had the trash racks inspected this year. They are getting to the point we're gonna need to address them, but the Fairbanks and Mills that we deal with recommended flipping them by flipping them, we could probably get another 10 years out of them before we have to do it, and they can do that. A couple other things that came up, we have some cracks in and under the powerhouse of Village 1 that need to be addressed. We could actually, by repairing those cracks, up our production by 5 to 10%. And then dredging Village 1 tail race, again, could be another 2 to 5%. So right now, these numbers are kind of placeholders. I have spoken with Fairbanks and Mills. They are working on an estimate. They're the ones who came up and dredged the Kendall and did the trash rack inspection. They said they looked at the tail race for Village 1 and did not think it needed to be dredged.
That was one of the recommendations that we had in our capital projects.
So 2018, when we were doing all of the upgrade, it was emphasized that all of that needed to be done. Part of the push for this right now is, as you're talking about ponding, some of this is a good faith gesture, so to speak, with A&R and FERC, because we are pushing back on A&R a little bit for some of the stuff they're trying to impose, and we're also pushing back because initially when we started this, we had agreed to stay run of river. I don't want to take our ability to pond off the table, because if we have a dry summer and we could pond to maximize generation, that will save us money because it will make us revenue. So if we go as we have been, and under our initial application, which was run a river, we're basically shooting ourselves in the foot. So we're pushing back. And this part of this is, we're having the discussion. I'm working with Paul Nolan. We're gonna be doing kind of a study under the FERC stuff of how should we be running our hydros to get maximum production. And some of this is, we keep having that conversation. We want to emphasize we want to keep ponding, but we haven't done the basic maintenance that we need to. And between this stuff alone could increase us, 5 to 10%.
So currently, we have the ability to pond, though.
Yes, our current license that we are operating under, we can pond.
Okay. And they're just trying to get us run a river.
We agreed in 2003 to strictly run of river because Sheldon complained there were some issues there, so okay, we'll just run of river. Well, great, until now we're in a drought and now we can't pond. In theory, come to find out, we can still pond. Our current licenses for ponding. We just agreed, but nothing was filed. We never filed a
There's no
formal
legal-
amendment. There's
Well,
no,
it was a hearsay thing. Well, we can't pond anymore. Why? Well, because Grandpa said we could.
So at this
Well,
point, we can say, well, we've now changed our mind.
Have we found any documents?
Yes, saying that we can.
the documents
Let's
support
say
that we can
Support that
pond.
Right, have we found any, letters to Sheldon saying we won't?
We never filed.
Yeah, we never, there's
we
nothing.
never filed anything.
Yeah, there's nothing filed.
I think it was in the trustee minutes, if I
Yeah.
remember correctly.
Trustees saying,
Just like an agreement, not a motion to,
right, nothing with
Right.
FERC or the state.
Nothing,
Right, more of
even
a
if you guys
handshake.
made a motion, it's almost kind of a moot point because our license with FERC says we can pond. We haven't had to since we've kind of rediscovered
it's
this.
smarter to.
It's like a battery, think of it as a battery.
Exactly, pick the level up even a foot from here to the Green Bridge. How many gallons is that? And you can run it wide open during peak production times.
Right, yeah, it's
His-
very effective.
Especially if we can pond during even if we slow back production during the day a little bit so that we can pond and then run it during the peak hours, that's
4
when our
PM to
transmission.
10 PM, let her rip.
Right.
Yeah,
And then-
exactly,
And then pond from 10 to,
exactly,
yeah.
exactly. So all of this that we're seeing here, we're gonna have to finance. And these are not solid numbers, but we do not have, it's not in this budget. Well, some of it, I upped a couple numbers to kind of factor into this a little bit. But until
Recording in progress.
I never stopped recording,
Okay, just in case you forgot.
apparently.
Just a reminder, just
But right now, as is, if we do any of this, the repairs are gonna be a couple $100,000, if not more, because we're gonna have to dam off the water. We can't have any water flow while they do the concrete work, get under there. It's gonna be extensive. Same thing with dredging. I mean, especially if we do end up needing to have it dredged, I've already kind of expressed I want them to take it down as far as they can take it down. I know it's ledge, but the more space that we get, the more output we can
Yeah, if you're
have.
gonna do it, you might as well do it to
Right.
your best advantage.
Well, I'm gonna assume that all these repairs would take place at the same time during low water, because while you got
Yes,
racks out,
when I
dams
talked to
out,
Ryan-
there's tail race.
July, August are our driest months, so the target would be to do it then, so there's less water that we have to kind of divert and deal with. I'm hoping to have numbers back in the next couple weeks, but I don't know for sure that I'm going to. They're doing their best, but the holidays kind of get thrown in there.
Yep.
And I don't know, they may even come up and look at it because they've been debating back and forth with me on if we really need to dredge or not. Because they looked at it in, when were they here? August, did they dive? August or
When's the
September?
last time that we've completely shut off any flow of water over that dam?
This summer. We didn't have any water going over the dam a couple times.
You mean
Or
us doing it or the?
Right, or even through it, like there was no water?
No water going over.
So that tail race was as low as it is gonna get. Did anybody take a look and see kind of where it's at?
I'd have to ask Dave
Yeah.
if he did. I personally, no, I didn't. Dave knows at some points, there was a lot of debris, but I think it's Brandon from Fairbanks and Mills looked at it in August and
He said it was fine.
he didn't see that it needed to be dredged.
I looked at it when probably it was 2018, when we were doing like the footbridge and all that
Yeah.
stuff. You remember. And it had a bunch of like, it looked like there was just a little tiny bit of water going to the middle. There was like muck
Yeah,
on either
Dave said it
side.
was pretty
and just-
bad. That's when this all came about. I mean, I've got these reports you guys are welcome to have, read, I can forward them on, but these are all from 2018 and it basically emphasizes what we should be doing and we didn't.
I think part of that too, though, was because that generator was down. Because we were getting the bearing replaced, the turbine replaced, so there was no water flowing through that.
And a lot of the crack repairs were supposed to take place when Kingsbury was here and the 2018 upgrade. A lot of stuff was supposed to happen
But, yeah,
that, we won't
bridge
go
got
there.
buried.
Yeah, exactly. So here we are, going on 7 years later, and we still haven't done any of the repairs and maintenance that we need to do. That's kind of another one of the situations where playing catch up, and it's reflected in the budget, is we have a lot of this R&M work that we need to do, all these repairs and maintenance that we kind of haven't been keeping up with, and we need to come up with a schedule, essentially.
In the grand scheme of things, though, $500,000 is, I'm not gonna say a drop in the bucket, but it's nothing compared to potentially saved transmission costs by upping our own generation.
I mean, 5 to
If
10.
we increase 10%, it's not gonna take long to pay that back.
Exactly.
Right. We could pay that back probably in a year.
How are we gonna finance that?
We have to go out to the banks and get a loan, or do a bond,
Check with
or,
People's Trust Company.
yeah, we're gonna be,
That's why we're propping them up now,
yeah.
preparing some of these.
Here we are again. Remember us?
That's, until I have solid quotes, obviously we're not gonna be able to do anything. But Fairbanks and Mills can do the crack repair, they can do the dredging, they can do the trash rack. So I mean, and they know our system, they've done really good work, so I'm pretty comfortable with them. And they can do it all. And if you wanna check them out, go to their website, they have a ton of pictures. I think we've got a couple of pictures of our stuff on there with them.
We've been using them forever.
Yeah, they're very responsive, they're good to work with. I know Dave never has anything bad to say about them. The divers that they brought in were really good, that we worked with, so they can do all of this. So I have him getting me a quote on all of this. Again, these numbers are kind of based off of these old reports, so keep in mind, I did increase them a little bit, so I don't know, but it's, like you said, it's kind of a drop in the bucket in the long-term picture. It's gonna benefit us, and then obviously we'll be staying on top of all of this a lot better than we have been in the past.
What's our projected yearly generation? Like, how much does that hydro make?
Right now, I can go grab November's numbers real quick. Off the top of my head,
We, 501,000 kilowatts made last month, November, not December.
501.
we haven't gotten December's
Yeah, we
yet.
got December. Which was our highest month for the year. Our next closest month was 58,000.
Which was April, obviously after snow melt.
Do you know what
Or-
well, no. Whatever.
If you have your
Well, we also
November
have,
financial report in front of you, it's right in front of you actually, Sam. Excuse me, John. Go to the very right here. So this is the hydro report that we get every CDA bill. So this shows you like April, 58% capacity, and then November,
It's 71.
right.
right,
Like, so kind of total. So to put a dollar amount to it, that's how much we've saved so far this year.
Yep.
So that's the hydro number, so we can, this is what we're producing. Gosh.
again, we're trying to set, I mean, some of it's Mother Nature, but the focus on keep up over 60%.
Yeah, the goal is to be more consistent with our numbers across the board, not 10% one month, then
Right,
the
10,
next.
10, 50, 60, 50, 50, 20, 20.
And we're trying to change the mindset too, is, I don't know what it was prior, but, you know, we're getting away from the ghosts of the guys leaving nervous, leaving it on because of an alarming, having to come back in. That was, we're saying now that's okay. If you have to come back in and look at it, you know, it's 3 hours call out, but, you know, if we got this thing cranking at 8 o'clock at night,
Yeah.
it's worth that call out to come back. So we're trying to get rid of that. I don't know what the mentality was before, but it was almost like a little bit of, we're scared, we're gonna shut it down or lower it for the night so we don't get alarmed to come back in, but we're like, nope,
Run it.
run it. And then,
Full send.
We're constantly
We're-
yelling out there, turn it up,
Yeah.
like, keep it going before you leave, where are you at, turn it up if you can turn it up, like.
Right.
so we're slowly working, you know, we're not slowly, we have gotta work through that.
And wasn't there some talk about remote, wasn't Olson gonna set it up?
We're working
remote
on that
control?
still too, yeah, so they can remote, correct some, majority of alarms remotely.
And can you adjust gates and flows and stuff like that? Remotely? Or is it
Yes.
still like wheels?
No, it's,
It's
no,
all
we'll be able to
computerized.
automate it. No. They are automated inside the buildings, but we're working on the software to get it so that they can do it remotely.
That would be ideal, even if you pay somebody to monitor, like,
We could even talk about down the road, Swanton, they're 24 hours monitoring their hydros. If they could link into our system and come up with a contract with them, they could monitor it and see what they can address remotely from there. If it's something they can't, then at that point, page our guys. There's a lot of options, I mean.
It's all, yeah, we're looking at it all. We are trying to get to that point. And some of it's cybersecurity, so then yes, once you open up the network,
yeah.
then now you have another issue. That's really the thing that's actually held us back from not going that direction yet. It's just trying to work with Ken Seymour, how do we do it safely, security-wise, as far as, because once we open that up, then people can get in there. Or could hack it, I
Which
guess.
is what's been nice up until kind of this point. We've been off, like the internet, so we've been really secure that nobody can kind of get into the hydro. So like you said, that's just another step, but hopefully we can get there.
Okay,
So, any questions by Department of Budget? It's, like I said, it's bleak. The next couple of years are probably gonna be bleak, but Don's we're patient, we will get there, it's gonna turn around. We just have to play catch up right now, and I do have imposed an even stricter spending freeze up there, just to get us kind of through. The guys are sort of tolerating me at the moment.
Another small thing we did too is we see think we've explained this earlier, so we're gonna be switching what's within the phone system into Swanton's gonna be dispatching us. So essentially for 2023, we won't have that dispatch charge. So we're dropping Contact as our dispatcher, it's gonna go to Swanton. Again, minute compared to the rest of things, but we're slowly, we have 15 pagers, I think it is, or 14 pagers. So they're all yearly contracted and they're all paid for, but as the renewal comes up, we're gonna drop them, so we're gonna go down to just 5, so each department has one, and they're gonna basically share it, so it's just.
Every little bit helps.
Yeah, so we're working on that as
That's
well.
right.
So there's those little things, and again, we'll start to see a little bit of the cost savings on the on-call, because we started the first of the year, now we're sharing. So like Isaac, one of our guys, and Jody Benoit from Swan, the first week of January, we're on call together.
And if it's kind of like if they get called out for Enosburg, then Swanton will bill us for like Jody's time, so to speak. If Isaac gets called out and goes to Swanton, then we'll be able to bill Swanton and recoup that cost. So versus having 2 of our guys on call every week, we only have 1, so then they're on a 4-week rotation rather than a 2-week rotation on call. So it's quality of life too with that for these guys to give them a little bit of a reprieve.
Good idea.
All right, very good.
Okay, is that it for budget stuff?
That is, so next meeting, nothing is really gonna change except for the depreciation number, and on the general fund, I'll add in the 10,000. We'll have to vote on them all, and then
And that's it.
That'll be that.
Relatively short and sweet compared to previous years.
It did go pretty smoothly this year compared to last year, I gotta say. I like not having all the extra meetings too.
Yeah, I kind of forgot about that, to be honest.
January, we'd be here a lot.
Yeah, every week for like 4 hours.
Yeah. So,
Okay, you're right. Okay, manager's report.
I didn't put it as a bullet point, but I again would like to thank the team for the Christmas weekend. Definitely was a struggle through that weekend, a lot going on. Swanton was great. They provided us a lot of good feedback for our team and our, again, our 2 youths, we call them, 2 new guys doing an excellent job out in the field, and those guys plugging away. And then like Lease Gates and so forth, and some other customers that would show up with coffee for the guys and cookies and stuff while they're out in the field, so.
community is
Yeah,
very,
community's
very
great.
supportive of the guys.
So,
I heard an awful lot of compliments.
yeah, so it was all very good, they did great. It was amazing every morning showing up here at 6 o'clock, and they were all ready to go and jumping in their trucks and tailgating and figuring it all out, so.
I'm gonna hijack John's little speech here too, to give him a lot of credit, because he was out in the field with the guys, cutting trees, doing whatever material runs, so it was nice to have a village manager, and I think you can talk to all of our guys to back that up, to have a very engaged
And it was noticed.
village manager. Yes, it was noticed, so
Yeah,
kudos to John on that as well.
people definitely noticed.
Yeah.
And again, Abby and Lori and Mikey, they all.
Everybody did a fantastic job.
So
You're
it was
great.
It took everybody.
I mean, it could have been so much worse than
Yeah.
it was.
And then I saw the post today about like if you wanted to send a thank you note to
Yeah.
the staff through VEPSA, which was kind of, I don't know if anybody else saw it.
Yeah.
So it's like a drop down box, you select the utility department, so Enosburg, and you could write a little thank you as a community member. So it's kind of a sharing room, so hopefully our staff gets some.
We've gotten some good cards.
Yeah, we got
You guys
cards
have
and
gotten-
emails.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we've gotten cards, we've gotten emails, we've gotten goodies still dropped off up to this week, so they've been spoiled.
First bullet point, so, through that safety meeting that they had up at the EMS building, and then through other EI meetings and other meetings, the junk and garbage ordinance has come up multiple times, so I didn't do some digging. The village has, or did have, an ordinance back in 2010 that was passed and published and so forth. but somehow, I don't know what happened, it was like the ball got dropped, so I picked it back up and talked with Jesse Bugby and kinda got some of the back information on what we need to do legally. So one of the things that never happened was we had to get, the town basically had to get a number officially with the jurisdiction, the
Judicial Bureau.
judicial bureau.
Number for what?
Just
We had to write
so,
tickets.
so we got tickets, I mailed in, I emailed in, we got a ticket book.
Okay.
So the next
I'm
steps.
enthralled.
Yeah, so the next steps with that, so it has all the ordinances in it and what, the expectations are, as far as trash and so forth. In that, so where we're at, and I guess we invited Jesse, Woods down, to talk to him because in the ordinance, it says the zoning administrator, the town manager, and or others that could be appointed. I asked for a number, I didn't get one, so I emailed back, I don't know why I didn't get one.
Where's my number?
Yeah, but Jesse Woods, they did supply the town, or the village with our number, and Jesse with his number. So I guess the next steps would be, it's not written into his job description to do that, so he's just asking to have that looked at. So, two things with that, we at the next joint meeting, I think we should bring that up and discuss what this looks like, and at this point, it would only be with the village, because unless they have some kind of ordinance, we have the ordinance and it's in place. And we
Yeah,
can-
and this is where it's affected the most.
Right. and we-
There's junk out in the town too, but nobody notices it.
Right, I can actually speak to this a little bit. It did come up in conversation in probably 2019,
Mhm.
and I followed up. It's actually the health inspector that has
Yes.
not ultimate authority, but they have first authority to enforce any health code violations. I believe the fine is $25 first offense, 50 second, and then 100 for any recurring offense. But what our issue was is we'd run into, a lot of times it would be the tenant who's making the mess, and the landowner, there's no way to force them to pay, essentially, the way that our
We can
rules
do
are
it.
written.
The way the ordinance writes, it goes back to the landowner.
You can lien their taxes.
You can put a
Yes.
lien, you can lien
Yep.
on, you
Yeah.
can put a lien on the property John could go out and write a ticket every day for 6 months, and then they don't pay that ticket, we can put a lien on the property.
Okay, because that was one of the confusing parts that we had last time, but yes, so the zoning administrator oversees the health department, or the health inspector. So he would also have authority, as well as village manager. But we had discussed this, I believe, at a joint meeting, and one of the issues that was raised was like farms and stuff, they always have, well, not always, but a lot of times they have junk and stuff out in the town. And the town didn't seem like they were willing to adopt any sort of
Yeah, they still don't, but
trash ordinance, which is fine.
they're working on one now.
It's fine, but the village, we can and do have an ordinance for that, like vehicles, if it's parked more than 30 days, or hasn't moved in 30 days.
Yeah, I haven't improved that.
There's a whole bunch of stuff, but either way, I think that ordinance should be revisited and beefed up to maybe include just general upkeep of like landscaping your lawn, because you could hay a couple of these houses.
Could I bring up one thing that EFEDC is thinking about doing? And then this will be not in general at all, it'll be very specific. EFEDC is considering revising and starting again the revolving loan fund, because EFEDC does have $40,000 in its coffers. And one of the things that is being talked about, and I offered to be on the committee, was to perhaps have some funds for, and like I said, this is very specific. So now you're an 85-year-old man living by yourself on limited Social Security and your place is a mess. We know that, and you have no children. You have no means to clean your stuff up yourself. So perhaps EFEDC could give a stipend of some kind to Colt Hollow Career Center or to the ROTC group for those kids to come and clean up your mess for you because you can't do it. It won't be for you, because you got 12 children and they can come do it for you, you're not getting any.
You're assuming they behave.
But there you go. But that is being thrown into the mix, that might help us a little bit.
That just some like stronger language regarding
And
furniture.
and your health officer is an elderly woman. And having seen a zoning administrator get screamed at by someone who was told to, no, it wasn't me, clean up their mess, I can see where that job might be a little bit intimidating. So we might need to visit that a little bit too.
So I think that's part of the joint meeting discussion.
Yeah.
Who, and again, who's appointed, or, there's no verbiage in there. I think I was thinking maybe somebody might get on a high horse, but is a portion of that go back to that person? If we hire, or not hire, but we have, because you can appoint,
Kind of like a delinquent tax collector.
or,
situation.
Finder's fee?
yeah.
Yeah, basically. If you can get them to clean it up, you get a
Yeah,
percentage.
we'll give you a buck or two.
So I guess revisiting it, I want to keep it a hot topic,
Yeah.
because I think it's a good place to
Well, I
start
mean, just
with.
people coming into town crossing the bridge
Right.
and taking a hard right and going like this,
Driving
and then
past
like this, and
trash
going,
mountain.
what the hell?
And then the trash from the
Yeah.
river ending up in our trash racks, and our guys have to dig it out because it's in the river.
Yeah.
And that, so that.
I mean, that doesn't bode well for us as a village.
Ordinances that stuff's not supposed to go in the river too, so that would all be enforced with
Yeah,
it.
that's a separate fine.
We have to
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like
So it
that's
can't
something
be.
above
We
and
do have to.
beyond.
Yeah, that's river pollution.
You want a book? You want a book?
Think about it. How do,
Nice
so
fresh red pen.
what was the,
Can I
how
carry?
do we appoint somebody? Or would we be appointed by the townspeople?
We can appoint, probably just through the trustees. I'd have to ask Jesse that. It just states in the ordinance that it is traditionally the zoning administrator, the town manager. It doesn't say health officer, but it said and or appointed. So,
Be the
By
trustee
the
posse.
boards, must be.
right, yeah.
Well, yeah, we can appoint all of ourselves
Yeah.
for ticket books if we need them.
So again, this doesn't have to pertain to the town. The only reason it does
can't
is
wait.
because of Jesse's mutual employee, if you will.
Yeah.
So that's the only reason the town's kind of involved with this. As far as the ordinance and getting started on it, we don't really need them. So if you did appoint somebody, like, or if I can get my number, or if we appointed Sandy as this person, we could start tomorrow, I guess. It doesn't really have to go.
Just don't tell me I have to be nice.
Yeah, so I just kind of wanted to bring it up and, let everybody know we're working on it.
It's good, I mean,
It's
it's
good.
wonderful that we're working on it.
Yeah.
It's.
And I don't want it to die, I want it to
It's
get
such,
to the point where we are.
such a
doing it.
PR issue.
Yeah, so. So it's up to you if you want, we can look at, next meeting appointing somebody or taking over or doing it, or, or at the next joint discussing it.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. Next meeting, we'll see where everyone is. But you have your ticket books,
I'll
so
keep looking out my back door and see.
don't be afraid to use it.
I gotta get my number, I didn't get a number.
Probably never
It's
been.
very,
to my
very
yard.
upset.
Yeah,
that
I'm
he didn't
upset.
get his number.
I stated,
Do they send you a little badge too?
I stated at the village
And then looks.
administrator and the village manager.
Do you need a letter from the board or like a motion?
You gotta appoint
No,
them.
no. I mean, Jesse, as soon as we got that book, we're
Good to go.
good to go. Just quick solar update, I'm gonna go through this in executive, a couple things over in executive, because it has to pertain to the, neighbor. But it is looking like it's a go, and, we're looking pretty solid there. We just have some interconnection studies, which means how we basically get back so that the lines aren't updated correctly for what the project will support, so we have to build, correct some things out, water tower up to reservoir, so, that's looking promising. The other just quick question that Abby and I had thought of, Abby's got a short fuse for the Zoom people. It's been a struggle, they keep trying to renew our Zoom and they're auto billing us, and we don't need all the products that we had used in the past through COVID. So our suggestion is just to go to a Teams type setting for these meetings as opposed to a Zoom.
Teams meetings are pretty easy.
It's essentially the same, right now. When we were initially gonna make the changeover in the phone systems, it was with Zoom Phone, it was a 2-year contract. Well, that contract was supposed to be up the end of December, well, they are trying to auto-renew it. In order for us to change our contract, we have to either give them ACH information or a credit card. I'm kind of refusing at this point because I'm pretty confident the second they get billing information, they're gonna charge the $5,000 invoice and not the $150 invoice.
And auto renewal's a little dictatorial.
And they're not answering or addressing my concerns, so yeah, I have a really short fuse with them at the moment, so was my kind of question to John, like, can we go to Teams format versus Zoom?
What's the price difference?
We already pay for
Yeah, we
Teams.
pay too.
What? Yeah,
Oh,
it's
well.
It's part of our Microsoft Office that we pay
There's
every
one more
year.
way for us to save a little
And
money.
it has all the features that Zoom has.
Yeah.
Yes. We use it kind of interchangeably. I think I actually probably use Teams more for the meetings that we're on than I do Zoom. We would still be able to, like if you
Stay.
sent me an invite for a Zoom meeting, I could still join a Zoom meeting. We just can't host a Zoom meeting,
Yeah.
so to speak.
Yeah.
No, let's go to Teams.
Thank you.
Well,
Aren't we easy, Abby?
Oh, throw
I
something
actually
at you.
hate Teams, but it's because I'm a Zoom user. It's like being an Apple user and a Droid user, you know, like there's nothing
Yeah.
necessarily wrong with it, but I
once you're
learned on
used to
Zoom.
something.
And every time I've tried Teams myself, I hate it, but
Hey,
I've had better luck
hopefully,
with
hopefully
Teams.
we don't ever have to use.
Yeah.
they already use it, so go right
Yeah,
ahead. I don't have to hit the buttons.
I appreciate it. And we can still record, we can still do all of the same features. We've
Yeah.
played around with that, so thank you.
We don't have to shoot the owl,
Makes me happy.
No, because we've done team meetings with
Works
the
with
owl.
Teams, right?
Yeah,
because that's, it's just not right.
Yeah, we'll see.
we've done team meetings. We just had one in here the other day, actually, with the owl, with Teams, and it all connects just fine, so
There, did you do that?
makes me happy.
The other quick note, I think I figured out, I should have the camera on YouTube.
Oh, is it up?
I haven't gotten, the cameras are up and operating, I just haven't.
Are
gotten-
they too high?
Are they too high? No, you can
Nope,
see.
okay.
But we're adjusting them, because the EV charger's going in tomorrow.
No. Oh, good.
Yeah, so, we can adjust them, I'm gonna get a little bit different camera. And I figured out how to go YouTube live from my desk, so I just gotta now figure out, I have figured out how to get the camera to go live on YouTube. So, it'll be back, people can watch it at home and watch YouTube and,
What's the benefit
It's
of
almost
having
fair
it
time.
on YouTube? Because I can think of a lot of reasons to not have people staring at people's everyday movements.
you're right.
But if you aren't doing anything wrong.
I think
you're
it's
all
a
set.
hard to do
I'm
that.
also thinking about like youth in DCF custody, where there could be concerns about people knowing where a particular student is, that sort of thing.
It's kind of, once you're out in public, you've given up all your sense of privacy.
Somebody could easily sit in the park and do
Right.
the same thing.
Because you are in public.
Sure, but, so what's the benefit
I guess there
of just
isn't.
having it on YouTube?
Entertainment.
Everybody's asked for
Public
it
Who
to
the
be
hell
public.
has got time to use YouTube
So I guess
for
it's more
entertainment?
meetings of the
Remember
public.
Channel 15?
That's something I wanna.
You used to be able to flip up Main Street and watch Main Street.
Yeah, I just think, is it
I used to do
gonna
that.
improve our safety and improve the
Well, Channel
quality
15
of-
did improve safety a few times.
How so? What do you mean?
Because there were people being accosted on Main Street and it was caught on Channel 15.
There used to be.
Therefore, there were
used to be a Main
consequences.
Street camera for
Oh.
It
30
went
years.
from-
It's like at
Or
the-
however
That's
long.
it.
It's
Flower
now an
shop
accounting
is the-
office.
Camera
Paywall.
Right
Next
next
door
to
to
it.
Daryl Rodgers' computer shop,
It was
the
right
brick
next to the
building,
telephone,
the old
yeah.
telephone building. It was on that building and it shot right straight up Main Street.
Yeah.
Forever.
There's been a lot
You
of
could turn that on
public
whenever you want,
requests
pretty
for
much.
a camera and
So that's a-
access to the camera.
Yeah, we have a lot of people asking about if the camera can go
How long does it store?
live.
30 days.
7 days.
7 days?
Oh, 7.
That should be enough time to figure out if your car got keyed or
Right.
whatever.
Something went wrong.
Donuts.
Right.
Jelly or glazed?
But you're, I mean, to your point a little bit, yes, there had been, like when I used to run the one on the cable network, we did have folks that would ask about it, but for that similar reason, they would see a pattern. Someone that they didn't want to know they had that pattern type of thing. But at that time, we also did get calls, because that wasn't recordable, it's just literally a camera that was broadcasted.
Just live feed.
But we would get asked if it was recorded, because little Bobby got beat up on that corner, and they wanted to find out who it was type of thing. But that was,
Right, yeah, cause we're recording it, so like we could look if there's something that needs to be looked at, but I mean, just a little wary of just letting people just sit and watch what we're doing all day. It's just.
Anybody has.
I mean, somebody can sit in their car and watch.
Yeah,
what's
you
going
can
on.
park-
Oh yeah, we have a few of those already. I could give you a couple of license plate numbers. Camera not necessary.
trust me, I was one of the people that, I was sitting eating lunch at the office, and people were, I get to their house, and I know why you're late, because you were sent to the office eating
Yeah.
lunch. I'm sorry. But,
Yeah.
so again, it's mainly because people had asked if we could go live, so I've been just playing around with it. And
Yeah, you know, I get that, it's not entirely on my part, but, you know, one of several, just not entirely sure that it necessarily, having it online inherently helps with the public safety, to just have people stare at it whenever they want to, because we can look at recordings if there was a concern.
then there will be people that will watch that probably 24/7. Because there
Dear
used to
Lord.
be people, I mean, that was the first, if that channel went out, the phone would ring off the hook, back in the day.
Then and now, we wonder what's wrong with society.
Well,
That's all I had. I guess that's enough.
Okay, do we have any other business?
We got
You
some
do,
stuff.
more signing.
Yeah, sign your life away tonight.
We have 3 things to sign. I'm trying to find where we sign on this one.
Which one? I
So
have
this one is the-
here.
This is the town road and bridge standards,
Include
certificate of
50.
compliance. This is that one, this is the AOT mileage certification.
I'll sign right here.
These are the last 3.
I love it.
Yeah, it's right there.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it's a new one.
So we certify that
I need to
we,
find a new one, maybe I need one.
is it a fire or
That we-
something else?
I've got
It's,
a
are
fire.
saying the standards passed and adopted on July 9th, 2019?
That's a
Yeah,
conflagration.
This is an annual thing that you guys sign annually for,
Remember
the
name?
road,
There's absolutely nothing wrong with the
for
one
the
I
road
have.
and bridge standards.
And there really
It's
wasn't
a-
anything wrong
a
with
big
the one I
hearing
had
about
before
the style
that.
every year. I don't think it changes, it's just we have to sign the paperwork every year.
Right, I'm just asking about the date, July 9th, 2019.
That's when, I think our plan was adopted.
Okay.
Kindle Scribe.
Scribe, black and white and color, I presume.
Yeah, I
And
have it in
then,
night mode,
this
so it's
page,
darker,
they
so it
sign
doesn't hurt your eyes.
down here.
Excuse me,
This is
sir.
the waterways stuff? Yeah, bridge standards.
Yep.
Stuff strewn all over the place.
Town road
Well, that's
and
gotta
bridge
go back in, I
standards.
presume.
Yes, it's okay.
Do we have any bridges?
Don't we have one? It's called,
I feel like that's
49.
another question.
Literally.
Right?
51. Oh, that's area 51.
That's the mileage certification.
No,
Leave that
no
back.
adjustments to mileage.
No, we didn't gain or lose any roads.
I'd like to gain some
Where?
between,
JD?
yeah.
We're working on that.
I was gonna say,
It's bad, it did just what we thought it was gonna do, it's bad now. Taking a left out of there is.
Oh, yeah.
okay, you
I
said
was-
that forever.
There was like, it was all the way past the first turn to get into Hannaford and past, the tractor supply.
Plus, they never moved their
The
sign
traffic.
back, so it's just as
I'm
bad.
waiting to
Also
see if
can't
Community
see.
National Bank starts to complain, because what I've been noticing, a lot of people are going right cutting
cut through.
around
Sure.
there and then coming down Water Tower Road. Almost any time that I've pulled out of there, that there's at least one or two cars that are saying
Perfect
screw
solution.
this and going around.
So I haven't done it yet, but I'm gonna bring it back up to the state because guy I coach basketball with works for ECI, and I was going to the DEPS meeting the other day, and I saw him sitting in Stowe. So I was picking on him about sleeping in his truck at practice that night, and he's like, no, I'm finishing up, he's an engineer for ECI, and they're putting one at the Shaw's.
Traffic light?
In Stowe, I think Shaw's is
Yeah.
100.
It's only that one store down there.
Yeah, and I'm like, and that's because I said, well, it must be the village owns that. He's like, no, that's still state highway right there.
Well, that's,
And I'm like, that's kind of BS. We've been trying to get one up here, and he agreed that it should be done. I mean, it is $1 million project.
it needs to be done.
Duff Lane in, so I'm gonna email
I'd say
them
on my
back.
phone it'd be worth it.
You couldn't believe the amount of car horns I hear and brakes squealing and.
So I'm gonna email them back,
Sit
asking
out there with popcorn.
what's going on. The only other business we had is a request from Lori and Abby. The wastewater allocation is $2,997. Can we pass to round it up to $3,000?
For an allocation?
Yep,
Uh,
to make it a solid number. Makes our math life a lot easier.
right, yeah, it only makes sense. Why is it such a messed up number anyway?
Good question.
I don't know. Yeah,
Have to take that up with past administration.
So wait, so you're
Let's not say we
asking
did.
the board to
Raise it $3.
Increase the
increase the
wastewater
wastewater allocations to
$3.
$3,000
Yep,
per allocation?
correct. It's $2,997 right now.
That's a dumb number. I will hear a motion
I'll
to
move.
make the allocation 3,000. Eli with the first, Leonard has the second, all those in favor say aye.
Yeah.
Those opposed nay.
The only other business thing I had was last winter we took down the speed sign and we haven't yet this year.
Because it doesn't get cold, usually because it's cold.
What's that?
According to Ken, we usually take them down just because it's cold in the battery.
Right.
It hasn't been that cold, so they haven't bothered.
We've,
And I mean, but it's kinda, it's not serving its purpose where it is anymore. I think people are just used to it.
Oh, I think you're right, yeah.
So I mean.
Like the one on Orchard, I just totally ignore, as I'm
Oh,
walking,
that's the only one we have now.
as I'm walking past that one and I'm looking down the street, you know, you're seeing 50, 49, 52. And I said, wait a minute, can't they read that? I can read it from here.
They
You know,
just-
and
they
I
know
think
nothing's
it's
gonna
just,
happen
yeah,
about
it's been there forever, so who
it's kind
cares?
of one of those, it's only an effective tool if you have the enforcement. We don't have the enforcement. So
Whatever happened to our other one? Are we getting a new one?
I don't
Well, we're
know.
trying to track down to get insurance claim, but obviously that's not gonna happen, so at this point, we'd have to buy a new one.
We're-
We don't have insurance on things like that?
I can
I don't know
check
if
if
our-
our.
You know what, like,
our-
we
Deduct- Our deductible would be worth it.
Yeah,
We have to double check that.
I would hope we don't have a high deductible.
They're not $4,000 or $5,000.
Yeah, that's high.
Right, I would hope we have like
Check it out, please.
Yeah.
$500 deductible,
might be 1,000.
even still,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
That's better than the full
I
cost
don't,
of
I
a
don't
brand
know
new.
how property insurance works, but if you have comprehensive insurance on your car and something happens to it that's not your fault, usually it's, you know, no deductible. So like,
We'll check into that.
somebody plowed our sign over,
Which certainly wasn't our fault.
right?
I will reach out to them.
It's a black Ford. Is all that we can tell by the fragments that I picked
And
up.
there's only 2 or 3 of those.
We will reach out to them and ask that, because we are reaching out as well to, we're gonna ask them to do.
Are we shopping insurance?
We will be, this fall.
Man, let me know. I know a guy.
I reached out to Leagues of City and Town, but they
Is that
don't
your
do
knee
their
guy, or?
renewals until the fall.
I'm friends with a guy that owns dealer policy. They treat us very well.
Yeah, so late summer. And
Because that actually, you should shop every single year.
Right.
wouldn't hurt.
They,
I mean, you should make your insurance provider shop for you
they do it
once a year.
for us
You
every year.
look
without
through my
asking.
stuff, tell me what I'm paying too much for, tell me how I can get a better deal if you'd like me to stay with you. Now, do this for me, please.
Yeah, I've reached out to leagues of cities in town. We actually had a couple employees request that, what it entails to be a passive member, because there's a lot of benefits that go with that other than the insurance. And my plan was this summer to just, in general, shop around and see what we can do.
Okay,
There was, last meeting, which was like ages ago, I brought up the Vermont, shoot.
And we said we'd look into
So,
it.
I got the
Yes.
minutes.
I did look into it, I do have an email out to them, it's the Vermont.
Vermont Healthy Communities, interesting.
You're welcome.
There's basically an online form, so I submitted that form to them. So basically, we gotta wait to hear back.
Okay.
So I submitted the form and seems like, I think they're picking 30
Yeah, that sounds
towns,
right.
yeah. So,
We'll just have to wait and see if they pick us.
Okay, there we go,
so
thank you.
that's, we're waiting on that.
You guys also all had a form in front of you to sign for the personnel policy. If you just wanna leave that word on the table, I'll pick those up after. Thank you.
And all the signed documents.
Which, I
We
don't
we
know,
were talking about the speeding though.
still don't know.
They put the pole on my lawn and they tried to get the thing to work and I don't know, it was faulty. They took it away, they got it fixed.
Right, we
And
put it.
it
put
never
up
came
on-
back.
We put it up on Water Tower Road and then it got run over.
It got murdered.
We had a lot of complaints. and
Somebody
issues.
murdered the pole.
Oh,
We had a lot of complaints and issues and the board decided to put it back on Water Tower Road. And we just need to decide if we wanna pull the Orchard Street and move it there
alright,
or
well,
wait.
I think at least just pull the Orchard Street.
Alright, I think we should take it down for now.
Okay.
I mean, the solar panel was covered with snow the other day, I don't know how much.
It's still working.
I know,
It's safe.
but
I
you
guess
don't want
it's
that
like
battery to
really-
let it freeze.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're really cold weathers.
Yeah, well-
Ken says they-
And we may have
Maybe we'll
some.
actually get cold weather.
Yeah.
We may.
If we take that down, maybe we'll.
Only January.
Right,
I have
Looks
a
like a
flower
bunker.
pot on it this summer.
There you go.
I just,
Multi-purpose?
it was sitting there
Yeah, there was
doing
something with the
nothing.
Bluetooth, I remember, we had to send it out and we got it fixed and then we ended up moving it to Water Tower Road and then now it's gone.
alright,
When did this happen?
Get hit?
When it got hit,
no, mid-November.
Yeah, they're on deer season.
Oh,
Somebody
check
mistook
that
it
too.
for a buck.
Yeah,
It wasn't wearing orange.
I thought it was
It was.
a single spike horn.
Around November 23rd-ish.
Alright, if that's all, do we have any other business? Any other business? We've got some executive stuff to take care of too, so, hearing no other business, I will hear a motion to enter into an executive session for the purpose of discussing negotiations and personnel policies in which premature public knowledge may compromise the position in the municipality.
so moved.
Eli had the first, I heard Leonard with the second, all those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed nay.